Here's some additional information about Module 3, Bricks to Clicks. Going through this module, I want you to understand how teaching and learning online can be successful. Some of your objectives are to compare traditional distance education courses with online education courses, describe advantages and disadvantages of these formats, and describe the skills that students and teachers need to be successful. Now, in order to do that, you're going to be creating a fictional online school that addresses all of these different topics. There's some readings in here that will give you some help around the background, philosophy, pedagogy around online teaching and learning. And the activities are meant to spark your discussion as well. A few different articles in here with some focus questions, as well as the chance to explore a variety of online schools. I've picked 4 online schools from Alberta and given the links to each of them so you can take a look and see the types of things that they offer and what their websites look like. Now, I'm not expecting you to create a full-fledged website with all of these details that you'll see on the Vista Virtual website, for example, but I do want you to cover a lot of the topics that you'll see on the websites. I'm asking you to participate in the discussion forums to get a better understanding of online learning and how teachers and students can best be supported. Now, I've posted a number of questions here, and they're statements that you could either agree with or refute. However, I'm not really looking for you to just go in point by point and talk about every single one of these things. This is really just to spark a discussion. So if you want to pick one of these topics, for example, pick teachers. Teachers who work online work harder than other teachers. Now, if you were to just pick that one topic, what could you write about that? What sort of research could you find? Could you find an article? Could you find a documentation from a teachers union that talks about working conditions, talking about workload? That's one thing you could focus on. I'd much rather you have a deep and personal discussion about one topic than try and answer all of these questions. Some interesting, probably controversial things you might see in here. Students who complete all of their work in front of a computer are missing the social aspect of education. It's something we've actually been talking about in the discussions just today. Something to think about is, where do students get socialized? Does it happen at school? Should it happen at school? And if a student is taking an online course, does that really mean that they're sitting in front of a computer 6 hours a day? Now, everyone has done this. You've participated in the doodle. I've set up the groups. So what you need to do next is connect with your group and start working on this assignment. When it comes to the presentation, you're going to be presenting to the class using Google Hangouts, which is a program that works like FaceTime, it works like Skype. It allows us to see each other and to talk to each other. The assumption you're going in with is that everyone in the class, myself included, has already reviewed your website. We've already gone through your fictional online school, and we've come up with some really good questions for you. The 20 minutes that you have for your presentation won't be around you talking about your school or highlighting your website. Come in with the understanding we've already done that work. Let's take the 20 minutes that we have together to go a little bit deeper and to help each other understand some of the good questions that we're looking at. Some of the questions specifically around, what does it mean to be a good online student, And what does it mean to be a good online teacher? So looking at the actual assignment, create a fictional online school, present it to your classmates through a live online synchronous session. What I've given you here is a rather general template. I've given you some ideas, but I'm not necessarily asking you to address every single point in here. You might want to make some decisions about the type of school. Is it going to be a school that's focused on grade 9 through 12? Is it going to be a school that's focused on STEM and engineering and math and sciences? Is it going to be a sports school? The reason that it's online is because students are traveling or participating in sports. Give that some thought. If you need some help or some suggestions, certainly feel free, pass that by me, or take a look to see what other online schools exist, not just in Alberta, but across the world. You do want to address some of these topics, um, a timetable, location, logistical information. What time is the school open? What time do they close? Do you have to rent a textbook? Do you have to pay a fee? Those sorts of things would be basic parameters for the school. Key features, again, what you want to look at. Is there part of the learning is a traditional face-to-face? Is part of it distance, where there's not a teacher available? Is part of it computer mediated, which means basically you log in, you write a couple quizzes, and the computer marks them for you? Is it self-directed learning, which means that the teacher sets you up at the beginning of the semester, says good luck, and sees you in 4 months? Take a really good think about what you want your fictional school to look like. You'll notice here I've included this words a couple times. You may want to frame this as teacher competencies. Now, by no means is this the only or the best way to do any of this work. This is just suggestions. I know that you're going to come up with a really great school, and I know it's going to have lots of diversity, and it will be very unique to the group members that create it. You may want to include a student testimonial on the website. So what would that look like? If you go through some of the other online websites, you'll notice that they do have pieces like this. Sometimes it's a case study or a profile of a student. Um, Sam is a 16-year-old male living in a rural area of southern Alberta, wasn't successful in school, had medical issues that kept him from being in class. He got signed on to the Southern Alberta online education program, was able to complete courses even when he was in the hospital, and he ended up graduating by the time he was 19, first in his family to graduate. Everyone came out to the ceremony. Sam maybe has a quote saying that my life has been changed for the better because of the work that I was able to do. Um, Being in the hospital was very challenging for me. Knowing that I had work to do was a real motivator for me to get through my therapy and get back to my computer so I could work on my PowerPoint. For example, that's just one thing that you might want to include. For the presentation, I talk about creating materials and creating media to be shared with the class. Now, in most cases, this is going to be a website. You're going to create a website for the fictional school. However, part of that website might include things like a video from a family, a video from the principal, a brochure that gets handed out at teachers' convention. So, for example, take a look at some of the other websites and see what sorts of materials they have. As always, take a look through the rubric and make sure that you're meeting all of these characteristics. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I really love this assignment and I want you to do well.